A decision so small, yet it changed everything. He thought it was just a shortcut. He had no idea he was stepping into a nightmare. It was supposed to be the fastest way home. A narrow back street squeezed between forgotten buildings. A path walked by many, ignored by most. But there was a reason people avoided it after dark. He took one step inside, then another. The walls stretched higher, the air felt heavier, and the sound of the city faded, swallowed by the silence. Had he looked back in that moment, maybe he would have noticed. The way the streetlights dimmed as he passed, the way the night swallowed his reflection in every window, the way the shadows clung to his heels, as if they had been waiting for him. Some shortcuts aren't meant to be taken. Some paths were never meant to be walked alone. And for the ones who do, most never make it out the same. He wasn't the first to walk this path. Others had stepped into this alley before him. Some made it through. Others were never seen again. This isn't just an urban legend. The alley has a history, one that stretches back decades. People vanishing without a trace. Witnesses claiming to hear voices, whispers in the dark. The feeling of being watched, even when no one else was there. Maybe he should have paid attention to the signs. Maybe he should have taken another route. But he didn't. And now, he was exactly where it wanted him to be. The first thing he noticed was the silence. Not the usual quiet of an empty street, but something else. The kind that presses against your ears, making you hyper-aware of every sound you make. The scuff of his shoes, the breath in his chest, the steady thump of his own heartbeat. He told himself it was just his imagination, that the way the walls seemed to stretch upward was only a trick of the light, that the shifting shadows were just passing clouds, that the strange chill creeping up his spine was nothing more than the night air. But then came the feeling, a deep, gut-level certainty that he was not alone. Every instinct screamed at him to turn around, to run, but logic kept him moving. There was nothing there, nothing he could see anyway. He quickens his pace. The alley stretches longer. The exit seems farther away than before. Then the first sign that something was wrong. A soft click. His phone screen glitches, distorting the time. The battery percentage drops instantly from 72% to 3%. A text notification. Don't look back. But there's no sender. His breath catches. He stops, looks at the phone, confused. Then a whisper, faint, right beside his ear. Someone said his name, the text on his phone. The whisper, the way the alley seemed longer than before. It wasn't paranoia anymore. Something was wrong. The air felt thick now, like the alley itself was pressing in, suffocating him. The walls weren't just tall, they felt endless. Then he saw it. His breath hitches. He jerks away, his pulse hammering, turns forward, keeps walking. Faster now. He didn't want to run, not yet. Running would mean he was afraid. And if he was afraid, maybe it would notice. The whisper comes again, clearer, closer, his name spoken in his own voice. Then the lights went out, total darkness, silence, a sharp inhale, his. Then footsteps, not his own. He wasn't alone anymore. His body locked up. Every instinct screamed at him to run. But where? The alley stretched in both directions, endless and unfamiliar. And behind him, something was there. He knew if he turned around, he would see it. And once he saw it, it would be too late. He clenches his fists, forces himself to move, one foot in front of the other. Slow, steady. But the footsteps behind him, they match his pace exactly. That's when he made his first mistake. He reaches into his pocket, his phone. Maybe a light, a call, something to break the silence. But as soon as his fingers touch the screen, his stomach drops. The screen is already on. A video is playing. He didn't press anything. There was no one else in the alley, no one behind him. So who was holding the camera? A whisper, closer than ever, right against his ear. "Don't turn around." And then, the footsteps stopped. He stands there, frozen. The air thickens. The walls seem to bend inward. The light at the end of the alley is gone. He had to move. Now, when he opened his eyes, he was somewhere else. The alley was gone. The city noise had returned. The streetlights buzzed like nothing had happened. But something wasn't right. He checks the time. His stomach clenches. He had only been walking for 5 minutes, but the clock said 3 hours had passed. He stares, his pulse hammering. Then his phone screen flickers. A notification. A new video file. Hands shaking, he presses play. The video is distorted, static. Then, a shadowed figure standing in the alley, motionless, facing the camera, watching. He never spoke about that night again. He never searched for the alley. But sometimes, late at night, he swore he could still hear it. A whisper, his name, right outside his window. Some say the alley never existed. Others claim it appears only to those who aren't looking for it. But what do you think? Was it just a trick of the mind? A lost hour that will never be explained? Or did something follow him back? If you enjoyed this story, there's more where that came from. Subscribe for more real horror, if you dare.